Can you believe I only used 2 compressors for my entire mix? Let's check it out. So back a couple years ago when I was flipping through Ermin Hadovic's systematic mixing guide, which is insane by the way, you should pick it up. It's only 20 bucks on his website. In that guide, Ermin had specific compressors he suggested to use on specific instruments and tracks. And what was really particularly interesting about that was that he only really suggested 3. Now, he did talk about other ones, but there was only really 3 globally that I saw him use over and over and over again. Those 3 compressors were a FET compressor like an 1176, a VCA compressor like an SSL channel compressor, and if I'm not mistaken, a LA2A, which I think is an opto compressor. And I saw this kind of same trend or pattern when I took Jordan Valeriot's course called Hardcore Mixing. I thought to myself, those are those same compressors coming up again. Now, let me paint a picture for you of where my mind was at the time prior to kind of like really only picking these kind of 3 compressors. I used to get lost in a sea of plugins, swimming in option paralysis. And I'd even go so far as to purchasing new plugins, thinking that that would be the one that would solve my issue. And ultimately really didn't, because the problem is not that it was a plugin issue, but the fact that I didn't know how to use the ones I already had. And I decided to try something radical where I would only use the 3 compressors that they suggested, which was an 1176 FET compressor, an SSL VCA compressor, and an opto compressor. Now, granted, I've even stripped that down further, so I only use 2 compressors 99% of the time now. And what happened next, what was crazy, my mixes started to sound really good. I got really skilled at using these kinds of compressors, and then it hit me that I didn't need all these options. I just needed these 3 good ones that can serve me over an entire period of my career. And I've noticed that most of the high-level mixers have default compressors. Just look at Chris Lord Algae. He has a rack of compressors that he always uses for specific tasks. And I love that mindset because it takes out a lot of issues that I think a newcomers to mixing have. Now I'm going to show you exactly how I do it. I'm going to walk you guys through where and when I am using these particular compressors in this particular mix. The song is called Serapis Morbis Amni. It was some pretty cool free multi-tracks that were on the Cambridge site that I grabbed and decided to mix and use this as the song for this video. But before we get into the juicy details, I would really appreciate if you guys can like, comment, and subscribe. It helps more than you guys know. All right, so we're in the mix. So as you can see, I have an extremely simple chain on my drums. On the kick, I just have this SSL channel, and it sounds like this. On the snare top, I have the same SSL channel. It sounds like this. So let me just show you what I'm doing here on the kick in regards to compression. Extremely fast release, moderate ratio, so 3-to-1, and a slow attack. I do not have the fast attack engaged, and I am doing about 3 dB in terms of compression. So I'm going to turn that on and off, and I want you guys to pay attention to how it sounds a lot more punchy with this compressor in. And 99% of the time, that's all I'm going to use on a kick is this channel compressor on this SSL. It's super insane. I don't ever rarely deviate from that. Let's go ahead and check out the SSL channel on the snare. Let me go. Let's check out the snare drum and what I got going on. And let's check out the snare drum now, and on the compression side. So let's check out the snare and what I'm doing on the compression side on this channel strip. So about 6 dB gain reduction, 6-to-1 ratio, a slow attack, and a fast release. Let's go ahead and solo this and show you what it sounds like with and without it. So here's with the compression. And here is without it. Now it is lower in volume because I have an output trim here that is compensating for the gain introduced by the compressor. Since these particular compressors don't have a gain knob, I have to do it here on the output trim. But just for the sake of this video, I am going to match it and go ahead and jump back to the compressed version and then the non-compressed version. So that's not compressed, and this is with compression. As you can see, it sounds a lot more punchy and in your face and definitely cuts through the mix a lot more. And it's the only compressor I have on here. Now, moving on to our drum bus, I got this VCA compressor, which is the SSL bus compressor. So this is what they had on their consoles at the very end of the console's chain, and that's their famous bus compressor. And it's fantastic, and I basically have it set to 30 millisecond attack and the fastest release, 4-to-1 ratio, and I think I'm only doing about maybe 2 or 3 dB of gain reduction on my drum bus. So let's check that out. And let's go ahead and hear a little bit of that section without the compression. So as you can see, when I had it disengaged, it kind of sounded a little looser, not as impactful, but the moment I turned it on, all the punch on the drums came back, and it had that metal kind of fucking metal punch going on. I really love this thing. It's really sick. They have it on sales. I would highly suggest if you guys were to get any kind of channel strip and bus compressor, wait for this to go on sale. It's $50 when it does go on sale, and you'll never need another bus compressor. All right, now let's check out bass. Now bass is particularly funny because I am using staged compression. If you don't know what that means just means that I'm using a series of compressors to accomplish the total gain reduction for the bass guitar. Now I have my bass split up to a DI, a mid bass track, and a distortion track. Here's the DI. Here is the mid distortion track. And here is the distortion track. And together it sounds like this. And I'm using stage compression, and the compressor that I'm using to accomplish this is the 1176, especially the one from Waves. I rarely deviate from anything else, and I don't really use any other 1176 recreation. What do I got going on here? On the DI track, I have a medium attack and a very fast release. Doing about 5 dB of gain reduction. On the mid distortion track, I have a moderately fast attack and a very fast release. Doing an insane amount of gain reduction, almost 20 dB. That is because this has a lot of the spiky stuff from the frets on the bass guitar, and that tends to overshoot a lot, so I'm using this to clamp down on those. And I do not have any compression on the distortion track because distortion inherently is extremely compressed. I have another 1176 going on top of all of those other compressors that I have already going. And that is doing 8-to-1 ratio, medium attack, fast release. And then I have another 1176 compressor. This one a little bit lighter, 4-to-1 ratio, moderately medium fast attack, and a bit of a slower release this time, but still extremely fast. And as you can see here, the total gain reduction that I'm doing here is basically shooting up to 12 dB. So I'm going to unmute this and we'll go ahead and check that out now. And all of that is just accomplished with just one type of compressor. So I really hope you guys can see the power of limiting yourself to just these kind of basic compressors that you can use all across your mix. Honestly, this just kind of revolutionized the way I mixed. So basically, it allowed me to conquer kind of that indecision that a lot of the new guys have when you're choosing the plugins to use on specific instruments and tracks. And that can really, really hinder you and your speed and your creativity when you have that kind of indecision paralysis. And more importantly, because I got really good at using these specific compressors, I'm a lot more confident. And that's what you want to be. You want to be extremely confident, and it allows you to kind of just really work hard and make aggressive decisions. And that's how you get really unique mixes. So if you like the value that I was giving in this video, I really appreciate if you liked and subscribe. There's a few links below if you want to get some free multi-tracks. And I'm also going to have a few links below to a few channels that I think you guys should check out that would also help you guys out for your mixing career. Peace out, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.